The municipal elections that will take place here in Ontario on Monday night will, of course, be very interesting. There will be many races that many people will be watching. Of course, naturally, in any municipal election, Toronto, Ontario's largest city, is always one to watch. And joining me now to discuss that and more is Gil Penalosa. He is one of the candidates running for mayor in that upcoming election. Hello there. Thanks so much for making the time. Really appreciate it.
Hello, Wayne. Thank you.
Let's just start out with your campaign. You running to be the mayor of Toronto. You're running against longtime Mayor John Tory, who obviously has a lot of political experience. What about your experience in particular makes you the better candidate to lead the city of Toronto forward?
Well, I think that I have more experience and better preparation than Mr. Tory. Academically, I have an MBA from one of the top 20 schools in the world, UCLA in California. I also have an honorary doctorate in urban planning. He's a lawyer, and lawyers are not really equipped to manage budgets and people and so on. From the point of view of experience, I also have more experience in the public, in the private, in the nonprofit sector. Basically, his experience is with Rogers, that is not really the best run company, and with the city for 2 terms. And in those 2 terms, I think that it's been a failure. Like I asked citizens in Toronto if they are better off today than 8 years ago, and I have not found anyone that is better today than 8 years ago. So I do think that I have both the academic preparation and I have the experience. I have worked in over 350 cities in all continents, directly with decision makers, with mayors, with governors, on issues related to affordable housing, issues related to sustainable mobility. So I do think that I have that experience.
You mentioned housing. Let's just pick up on that because obviously Toronto has very high housing costs as of right now, as do many cities across Ontario and across Canada. What would you do as mayor to alleviate some of those concerns around the rising costs of housing and perhaps work with other levels of government to do so?
Well, the rising housing is a huge problem because Toronto is losing a lot of people. A lot of young people are leaving because they cannot afford to live in Toronto. People are not coming to the university. Some of the best professors don't want to teach. So we're losing nurses and teachers and professionals and everything because it's not affordable to live in Toronto. And the last 8 years on affordable housing have been a huge failure. Even Tory created an organization called Housing Now, and after 8 years, they do not have one shovel on the ground. What will I do? Basically, 3 buckets. First, 80% of Toronto, so almost all the city, is zoning for single-family housing. Many people are empty nesters, like my friend Jamal. He was selling his house because he's empty nester. He has a big house. And I said, look, wait until the 24th. Because if I'm elected, you will be able to subdivide your house as of right in 4. So now you live in 1/4 and you rent out the other 3. So it's going to be great because we're going to have thousands and thousands of units available for rent or for buy in all of the neighborhoods in Toronto. This will be citywide. We are going to end exclusionary zoning. Second, we're going to allow to densify all of the transportation corridors. Wherever there is public transit, we're going to allow to densify as of right. So developers are going to skip 3 to 4 years. So they're going to be able to build faster and cheaper. And then there's going to be a lot more housing. And third, in all of the land that is public, we are going to build 100% affordable. Tory has been thinking of doing half market rate, half affordable, and thinking because he has not done it. So these are 3 areas that have had nothing in the last 8 years. The renovation revolution in the neighborhoods, the densifying the transit corridors, and the housing in the public lands.
And obviously, naturally, whenever, the cost of life's necessities, one of them is housing, but obviously just the general cost of living at large, looking at the rising cost of groceries, lots of different issues, that obviously also leads to an increase in poverty. What would you do as mayor to reduce the rates of homelessness in Toronto and reduce poverty rates across the city?
Well, first, by far, the main cost is housing. rental housing, owning housing, all of it. So I'm also working with rentals because you only hear Tory talking about house ownership, but also rentals. For example, we are going to have something that renters want forever, but Tory has voted against, that have ranked all of the buildings for rentals. So if they're doing things well, it's going to have a green sticker. If it's okay, then yellow. If it's bad, red. We are also, if anyone builds rentals with money from the government, is going to have also rent control. So we are really going to take care of rentals, because most of the owners of buildings are good people, but there are a few bad apples, and we have to take care of them. And Mr. Tory has sided more with the bad apples. From the point of view of the homelessness, it's really horrible how Tory has been dealing with the homelessness just as a police issue. So all of a sudden, Toronto, he has 17 homeless in Trinity Bellwoods, and he sends 150 armed police and horses and bicycles and fully armed to literally kick them out. No, the homeless is not an issue of police. The homeless is an issue of our society, a failure of us as a society, and we need to take care of this through social workers, specialized social workers that will have a dialogue and will find solutions, not through the police. I think that was horrible for the police. People got the wrong image of the police. It was bad for the city because around the world they were showing these images, and worse, it was bad for the homeless.
Okay, Toronto mayoral candidate Gil Penalosa. Gil Penalosa, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Wyatt, thank you very much. And I hope to have another opportunity with you, because especially young people, we need to create a city where a lot of young people today feel hopeless. And my goal is that they will be able to move from hopeless to hopeful, because all of these things we're talking about are not technical or financial. They are political. So it really depends on who people are voting for on this Monday, the 24th. Thank you.